definitely must have carried this round the whole country and have written plays and all sorts of items. Stan's father went to live with Stan's sister Beatrice, and in fact died in Grantham, Lincolnshire.
Are there still many relatives around?
Well, yes. The nearest relative in the United Kingdom is in Dewsbury, Nancy Wardell. She is the daughter of Mary, Stan's cousin. And Nancy, of course, has been very helpful and given me lots of material and, well, information, basically, about Stan.
So it's if you meet somebody here who looks like Stan Laurel, then it's not unlikely that might happen, because there's so many relatives here. And,
yes, well, Nellie Bushby was the last relative. She died 4 years ago in Ulverston. So as far as I know, there are no relatives in Ulverston, but certainly there are in Yorkshire, in Dewsbury.
Have you met somebody who looked like him?
There are quite a few people around that look like Stan. Because Stan had red hair too, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm no family. Look at that. This is nice. A beautiful photograph.
Yes,
and
nice.
here's
Anita Garvin. Yes.
She's still alive, right?
She is still, yes, she's in the motion picture hospital in Los Angeles.
What about this one?
Well, that's a little item from, a little potty from under the bed, again from Argyle Street.
Bill, your whole life is dedicated to Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy with this beautiful museum. Why are they so important to you?
Well, I've always liked Laurel and Hardy, and ever since I became interested some 12, 13 years ago, it's really become perhaps an obsession. But I get a lot of pleasure from Laurel and Hardy and from the people I meet as a result of them coming to the museum and me travelling around.
But why are they so important as comedians?
Well, I think Laurel and Hardy were really special. They're very visual, good, clean fun, never anything nasty in a Laurel and Hardy film. And the more you watch a Laurel and Hardy film, the more you see in it, and the more you appreciate the complete timing and genius, really, of Laurel and Hardy.
So you still laugh at the boys?
Oh, I laugh. I see the same film sometimes 3 and 4 times a day, and I still cannot stop laughing.
You know Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy?
Yes, we know them.
Yeah?
In Germany they are dick und doof.
Dick und doof?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you see their movies?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think of them?
Oh, fine.
They are great actors.
Yes. And I love the jokes. They are finally not so. Oh, my English.
Tell it in German. Tell it in German.
Es sind keine groben Späße, es sind feine Späße.
You have to remember they are before our time, though.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Sure, because you're so young.
Right,
Oh, yes,
right,
yes.
right.
They were already dead when you were born.
Oh,
Did
definitely.
Did you see many of his movies?
Oh, yeah, I've seen them all. They're still on TV.
The younger
catch 'em.
people,
All the
the
reruns.
younger generation now still get a kick out of them. They like them.
What did you like best about it?
The ridiculous things they did.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Lois, at one time, your father was called Arthur Stanley Jefferson, and later on he became one of the most famous comedians in the world, Stan Laurel. And he worked together with a man we all see on the photographs as well, Oliver Hardy. When did you get aware that he was such an important comedian? Was that already when you were very young?
I think it was before I had started school, because I spent a lot of time at the Hal Roach Studios on the set. At the same time they were making the Our Gang films, and I used to run away from the sets of Laurel and Hardy to go see what was happening over with the kids. And I realized that all the fuss and the preparation of doing a scene and so forth, that my father was somebody. Except that, in a way, I felt he had a job. He went to work every morning. He came home at night, just like any of the other children's fathers.
Did you realize they were so immensely popular throughout the world, or was that a local thing for you?
Well, I think they were more popular. It seemed to me that they were more popular in the foreign countries, really, than they were in this area. That's the way it seemed to me, anyway. When they went abroad on their tours and for a holiday, and I did see the films, especially from their 1933 trip, the crowds were just like 50 deep, and they were overwhelmed. They didn't realize that they were that popular until they actually went over there.
And how did you relate to Oliver Hardy?
Oh, he was a wonderful man. I just adored him. He would come to the house often, and I got up to an age, I must have been maybe 4, and by this time I would be taken into the screening room or go to the movies to see the Laurel and Hardy films. And on the screen I suddenly realized that here was this big man beating up my father, and I didn't think I liked it one bit. So the following week my mother said that when Oliver Hardy came to the house, that I wouldn't have anything to do with him. I didn't want to talk to him. I just didn't say anything. And we have some home movies where it's very obvious that something was wrong. But I hadn't said anything to my parents, like I don't like Uncle Babe beating up my father or anything. And finally, they realized why I thought that I didn't like him. And so my father said, well, he would remedy that. So he wrote a script where he got the best of Oliver Hardy and took after him with a piece of lumber, and I thought, oh, my father can take care of himself. I was very pleased.
Come out of there. I won't. Now, you better leave me alone. Come out of there, you big bozo. I won't do it. No. Wait, no. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Get back here. Wait a minute now. You missed me, didn't you?
Was he funny at home?
Oh, yes. And he could be very serious as well, especially when he would get ideas for stories or be working on a storyline. And but I seemed to sense when it was time to play and when it was time to be quiet and let him do his writing.
Now, later on, he divorced your mother, and were you still around with him?
Oh, I was quite small when they divorced,
Yeah.
5 or 6. However, I was there weekends, and my mother was not, did not try to keep me from seeing my father. And so I was with him quite a bit of the time.
Before your father died, he already enjoyed the revival of the Laurel and Hardy films, right? I think Oliver Hardy sort of missed it in 556. But
yes,
your father...
it wasn't on television as much.
Yeah.
My father was very unhappy with a lot of the television programming for the Laurel and Hardy films because, number one, they cut them to a time slot and cut them very badly, where they would lose what he had worked so hard to build up to a certain gag. And a lot of times there was a baseball game on and it was rained out. They'd throw on a Laurel and Hardy, and it might come on in the middle of a film, and he was not happy with that.
But he was excited that it all came back?
Oh, yes, yes. But he just wished that they could have, it bothered him that a lot of what he had worked so hard for was ruined, and he didn't want the public to see it that way.
There's some things from Laurel and Hardy which will remain forever. One of them is this. And the other one is probably this.
Kneesy, earsy, nosy, and the finger wiggle.
Where does this come from?
Well,
It was used in Fra Diavolo.
Yes. My cousin Nancy Wardell says that she had seen her grandfather rehearsing my father in doing this. Now, whether my father had done it as a child and had forgotten or what, that I don't know. But, or whether my grandfather invented it, that I really don't know. But she can recall seeing her grandfather teaching it or rehearsing my father through it. And my father then, when he came back to America, put it into his next film.
There's a whole line of performers in your family. It's not only Stan, it's also his father, and maybe even before. I don't know. You could tell us. Was Stan's grandfather also involved, Phil?
In theater management,
in theater.
really.
Yeah.
And then my father's mother was England's greatest tragedian, and she was in the theater. In fact, I believe that's where she met my grandfather, my father's father.
Then your husband is involved, Phil. He's a performer.
Yes.
Who else is there? Are there
Well,
new
we
ones?
have one coming up,
Right.
Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke?
Who looks just like my father did at the age that he is now, 13. My middle grandson, Patrick, resembles my father at an earlier age, 3, 4, in there. But young Sam has even to the ginger red hair, and he's bound and determined that he wants to be in the business.
Oliver Hardy died in '56, your father in the early '60s, right?
Oliver Hardy died in August of '57.
'57.
And my father died in February of '65.
That's more than 20 years ago. You still miss him?
Oh, yes. But I think I'm very fortunate, and I think our whole family is fortunate to be able to turn on the television or to put on a videotape. It's kind of like having the family around, even though they're gone. The first few years after my father passed away, I couldn't go through any of the memorabilia or the scrapbooks or even watch them on television. But finally one day, when my first grandchild was born, my daughter brought him home for her first Christmas with the family. And it happens here that on Christmas Day, they usually run Babes in Toyland or Swiss Miss or one of those films. And my daughter said, she came out to the kitchen and she said, Mother, she said, isn't it wonderful that we can have Grandpa with us every Christmas? And I hadn't really looked at it that way, that we were very fortunate.